If you're someone who wants to build an audience and build your influence on social media, this is going to be the video for you because I'm going to be giving you a strategy that I'm guessing you have never heard before. It is not your typical kind of trending sound or copy what everyone else is doing on TikTok. This is foolproof to help you build a personalized strategy to build your audience before 2024. No. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and this channel is all about becoming the coolest person you know so that you can build an extraordinary life and of course an extraordinary business, and as we're talking about today, build your audience. The problem with so much advice on the internet when it comes to building influence, building your social media, or building an audience is so much of it makes no recognition to the individual skills and personalities of the creator. You know, you might find some advice on the internet, or maybe you've even invested in a course, and that person is teaching you their way of building an audience, of being creative, of creating content. This is ultimately giving you an 85% chance that their strategy is not going to work. Because why? There are different creator archetypes, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. There are ultimately 7 different creator archetypes, and when you find your creator archetype, what you do is then you unlock a strategy that is so much more better suited towards your natural skills, towards your natural personality, and it helps you filter through so much of the contradicting and confusing social media advice that's out there. I want to take a guess that if you've tried to build an audience, you've done some research on how to do so. You've probably researched the different platforms, you've probably researched different ways to create videos or to create reels or whatever the type of content that you want to create is. And I want to take a guess that a lot of the time, these strategies don't work for you. You know, let's paint a picture for a second. You're on Reels, you're scrolling through, and someone says, how I got 1 million followers in 30 days. Okay, maybe not that many, but sometimes it feels like that, right? They give you a strategy. They give you this exact strategy. You know, use this trending sound, use this hook, make sure it's this amount of seconds long, make sure your caption's this amount of words, and you follow that strategy. Oh my gosh, you go to bed, you're like, I'm gonna wake up so famous tomorrow. And then nothing. It just doesn't work. And then you're sitting there scratching your head and you're like, why isn't this working for me? But then you find someone else who gives you a different piece of advice. So you try that and then the same thing happens and the same thing happens and the same thing happens. And then you're left wondering, like, am I just not cut out to be a content creator? Am I just not supposed to build an audience? That isn't true. See, the problem with all of these like cookie cutter strategies is, like I said in the beginning, often they are only suited to a specific creator style. Like, for example, some people are more artistic. Some people have really, really great eye for detail. So when it comes to videography and photography and art, they are more naturally going to be able to create better in that way. Some people, maybe they're not the most creative artistically, but they have personalities that just make them so incredibly magnetic. Some other people are excellent communicators while others are excellent educators. See, the thing is, we actually all have natural skills which can lead to a personalized strategy for success when it comes to building an audience. It's just that without understanding what these pathways are or what these creator archetypes are, which I'm going to get into, what we do is we just listen to the most exciting advice. I mean, the advice that we think is going to make us go viral. And when it doesn't work for us because it's not suited towards our natural creative tendencies, then we're left wondering, am I just not cut out for this? So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the creator archetypes. This is something that my team and I have been developing for our program, Influential AF Academy. I've been studying and developing this for years. And where it started was with Colin and Samir. If you're not familiar with their channel, they've got an amazing YouTube channel and an amazing podcast all about the creator economy, and they do some incredible interviews. Now, a few years ago, they theorized that there were 2 different types of creators.
A relationship-based creator is a creator that can engage an audience purely based on the relationship that the audience has with the creator. They'll essentially watch that creator do anything.
An idea-based creator. Now, an idea-based creator relies on their idea to find an audience, and the audience does not necessarily care which creator is executing upon that idea.
Incredible concept. However, I personally believe that it goes so much deeper than just ideas and personality-based creators. I have consumed millions of hours of content. I study social media. I study psychology. I study behavior. I am constantly asking why something works. And that's really where this concept was birthed out of. I've asked myself for so many different creators, why has this person become successful when other people have incredible content and it's just not working for them? So as I've mentioned, I know there is so much advice out there, like an overwhelming number of advice. Like, honestly, you could go and search how to build an audience and it would come up with trillions and trillions of, maybe not trillions and trillions. And it would come up with trillions of responses. I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but it would come up with a lot of responses because everybody and their dog has advice on how to grow on the internet these days. However, if you're someone who has tried so many different things and it just hasn't worked for you, the Creator Archetype model might be something worth considering. So let's dive into exactly what the Creator Archetype model is. So ultimately what the Creator Archetype model is that there are 7 different types of creators. When you're able to understand your Creator Archetype, what this does is it gives you a sustainable way of building an audience. So often we try to implement strategies that just aren't suited towards our personality or our natural skill sets, and it's ultimately like we are trying to row a boat upstream. We're going against the current. Whereas when you find a strategy that's in accordance to your Creator Archetype, what you're doing is going downstream, you're going with the current, you're going with the flow, you're making it so much easier for yourself. I know this may be something that you haven't heard before, and we're going to tuck into all the different Creator Archetypes, but when you think about it, you already have natural magnetism, you already have natural charisma, you already have skills and a certain personality type. Why not find a social media strategy or a creative pathway that is more in accordance to those natural skills instead of pulling your hair out trying to make something work that just isn't naturally easy for you? So let's dive into what the actual 7 different Creator Archetypes are. First one is the Educator. Obviously, this one is relatively self-explanatory. The Educator is someone who is generally academic or has high skill in a particular area. So they have a niche that they're extremely knowledgeable in. And what their defining factor is that they are able to take relatively complex topics and they're able to educate an audience by simplifying those topics. They help people to understand things. A really good example of an educator that has become really popular in the last few years is actually Alex Hormozi. Alex Hormozi was on a podcast recently. He was on the Diary of a CEO podcast, and the host asked him, what do you think your skill is? And he said, I think my skill is that I know a lot about business and that I can teach that in a way that's understandable for people. That is a quintessential educator. They are people who their content is best suited when they are in educational formats. The next Creator Archetype is the Conversationalist. These people are really great suited to conversations. Now, I'm not talking about conversations like you and I are having right now. I'm talking about actual physical conversations with other human beings, because conversationalists do really well when they're able to bounce and back and forth with people and have a conversation. That's why it's called a conversationalist. So obviously these people are really good hosts, podcast hosts, talk show hosts, things of that nature. Maybe they're really great on panel discussions, but either way, their most creative style is when they're bouncing back and forth with another human being or with a small group of human beings. A really great example of this is Tom Bilyeu. So if you don't know the podcast Impact Theory, this is one of my favorite podcasts. I think Tom Bilyeu is one of the greatest interviewers of all time because you can tell in the way that he creates content, he is absolutely in his magic when he is having conversations with people. It brings out this just magnetic energy that you can't look away from when he's having a conversation with people. He genuinely seems interested, and time again, guests have complimented him on how that was one of the best interviews that they've ever been involved with. So he's most creative, even though he can create by himself, his most creative is when he's going to be having conversations with other people. The next is the Speaker Archetype. So they're very similar to the Conversationalist, except they are people who generally have the most creative energy when they are in a speaker type role. motivational speakers, for example. But this could also be people like politicians, people who are communicating. Now, they're like educators, but generally speakers can speak on a broad range of topics. It isn't so much that they have a niche concept that they are really, really prolific at educating on, but they generally, through their storytelling, through their connection to the audience, they can talk about a lot of different things, but be very, very charismatic no matter what they are talking about. But it's their voice that is ultimately their superpower. I think a really great example of this is Mel Robbins. So whilst Mel Robbins definitely has topics that she gravitates towards, she is more of a generalist in the personal development industry, but there is just something so magnetic about her. I think her 5-second rule TED Talk is one of the most viewed TED Talks of all time, but she definitely has that educational air to her. But either way, I see her speak about so many different things, and like so many people, you could just listen over and over again. That's why there's so many little sound bites that people have taken and turned her little talks into reels and TikToks and things, because it's just the magnetism of her words and her voice that ultimately makes her so enjoyable to watch. The next is the entertainer. So the entertainer goes broadly across so many different categories. So this would be things such as comedians or artistic entertainers. An industry that I really, really love is drag queens. Drag queens are quintessential entertainers, RuPaul being one of the most famous drag queens of all time. But, the entertainer, they are really there to ultimately put a smile on people's faces. And like I said, that can happen in so many different formats, but the goal of their content, the way that they're able to get resonance with their content is ultimately by putting a smile on the face of their audience, to entertain people, to uplift them, to make them laugh. Anyone who makes memes, anyone who does commentary, like comedy style commentary, like these are all entertainers. The simplest way to understand this is someone who is just good at making people smile. The next is relationship-based creators. So these are really your creators like Emma Chamberlain that we spoke about in the beginning. Emma Chamberlain for so many years was making videos of just herself, often laying in her bed, just having conversations. Like there was really, I don't want to say there's no thought into those videos. I know that she had a high standard of the quality of the content she was putting out, but ultimately it's not like a huge idea or a massive educational piece, really dependent on the parasocial relationship, the relationship that she had with her audience. It can not be the most aesthetic thing, but generally it's the relatability of that type of content. So people who are relationship-based creators, they need to be comfortable with really letting people in. Maybe you're a bit of an oversharer, but people absolutely love it and they just love to just hang out with you and be in your energy, or people love to FaceTime you. That type of content really that's just personality based and 100% reliant on the personality of the creator. If you're someone that people just generally want to spend time with, regardless of the context, you might be a relationship based creator. Because then we move on to the lifestyle creator. So whilst they have similarities to the relationship based creator in that quite often it can be a bit personality based, but the lifestyle creator is different to the relationship based creator because often relationship-based creators are more relatable, whereas lifestyle creators are more aspirational. Anyone who fell into the era of like the fitness YouTuber or the home decor YouTuber, the people whose lifestyle aspects, the lifestyle elements are ultimately the things that we love. Again, it's not 100% based on their personality because let's say you're a lifestyle creator and your niche is home decor. It's really focused more on the home decor and the lifestyle elements itself than like the personality per se of the creator. So for these creators, focusing on aesthetics, really making sure that the content that you're creating portrays a lifestyle. Maybe it's a healthy lifestyle, maybe it's food, maybe it's sport, maybe it's home environment, maybe it's travel. Think about any type of lifestyle element. Those who create in this niche are lifestyle creators, and quite often their content is relatively aspirational. The classic example of this, if you were around in the birth of Instagram popularity, was Jay Alvarez and his partner at the time, Alexis Ren. They are like quintessential lifestyle creators. They created a lot of content whilst it was very aesthetically pleasing. I think Cody Ko made a joke one time about how he was the inventor of the blue ass water content. Lots of travel content, lots of lifestyle content, really well produced, but ultimately it's about the lifestyle lifestyle that they're living. That's why people love to watch that content. You know, your fashion creators are lifestyle content creators, your beauty creators. Again, I'm not saying these people don't have personality, but a lot of the time, people who do lifestyle elements are lifestyle creators. And then the final one is the artistic creator. You know, these are everyone from your musicians to your poets to your videographers. And of course, there can be crossover with lifestyle and artistic, but ultimately, artistic creators are the ones where their art, their craft is at the forefront of the content that they are producing. Peggy Goo, someone that I love at the moment, she's definitely risen to fame on social media lately. She's a DJ, she's freaking amazing. Like, her music production and her DJ is her art, it's her craft, and obviously her becoming a famous influencer or having built an audience is based on the fact that she has this artistic pursuit. So the next thing you might be asking is, like, how do I actually know what creator archetype I am? Well, if it's not immediately obvious to you, because for some it might be, you might naturally gravitate towards a particular type of content creation. You know, maybe you do not want to have your face and your voice in it so much, but you do want to, you know, portray the beauty that this world has to offer with videography. Or maybe you're like, I could not care less about color grading. That sounds like absolute torture to me. I just want to sit there with my phone and talk to it. So what you generally find easier to do, or what you feel most like creating more consistently, is generally going to leave some clues about what type of creator you are, or your personality type, you know, what other people say about you. But the other thing you can do is, if you really don't know what type of creator you are, is just experiment with different creator styles. Now, I have a free masterclass that I'm hosting where I'm going to go much deeper into like the different types of content for each individual creator archetype, as well as some case studies, as well as resources, as well as how to use not only your niche and your creator archetype, but your personality to eliminate all competition as a creator and really become unique, become one of a kind as you are trying to build an audience. Because of course, I would put all this in a YouTube video, but it'd be like an hour long. So I have that free masterclass. So if you did want to have a look at that, then definitely check it out in the link below. But just to kind of summarize here about finding your creator archetype, it really is just about either being super self-aware, or it is about going through a process of experimenting and finding which one is best for you. Because ultimately, like I mentioned in the beginning, you know, you can spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours going through every single social media strategy. You could even spend thousands of dollars on courses, but if that person is not recognizing that each individual is unique and what works for one person might not necessarily work for the next, you might end up wasting a lot of time and a lot of money. You know, if someone is there and telling you that you have to make sure that you have super high quality video in order to succeed on Instagram, that just isn't true. And there are so many examples to prove that that isn't true. There are people who are literally just picking up and talk their phone and talking to the camera, but it's the storytelling that they're able to communicate, and it's their tonality and the magnetism of them being a speaker, or their personality that is definitely going to be the most magnetic thing about their content. So different archetypes are going to have different things that they need to focus on when they are creating content. You know, if you're naturally an educator and you're really good at explaining things, and you're really good at showing demonstrations, and you're really good at teaching people and making people understand things that they so deeply desire to understand, but if someone tells you that you have to be funny on camera, it can be a little bit cringy for your audience. It honestly can, if it's not something that's generally natural for you. If you're spending all of your time trying to, you know, do a lifestyle vlog when you're actually a speaker creator, yes, it might be fun for you, but you might also be going against the grain. You might be trying to build your audience in a way that's just not as natural. And in order to be able to do that, it's going to evolve. It's going to involve a lot more skill development. It's going to take you a lot longer to develop those skills because they're not natural to you. I think you absolutely can expand into different creator archetypes, but if you are just starting out, why not take the path of least resistance? Why not create in a way that is already natural to you? Why not filter out all of the noise, all of the contradicting advice, all of the confusing information that all of the experts and the gurus tell you that you absolutely have to do, and just find the few things that are really, really going to highlight who you already are and your skills and your personality that ultimately are going to be the most magnetic, the most exciting for the audience on the other side. Because ultimately, if you want a fast way to build an audience, it's going with what you already have available to you rather than making it difficult for yourself and trying to do the things that just aren't natural. So like I said, I do have that free masterclass if you want to go into this, but just think about this. Think about this different concept. I know it's so freaking frustrating when you're like, I feel like I'm doing everything right. I feel like I'm doing all of the right things to build my audience. And yet here's this person who's just posted 14 videos and basically doing no editing, no nothing, and they've reached 1 million followers. You know, that is wild. Why does that happen? Why does this happen so regularly that it ultimately just feels like people have hit the social media jackpot? The reason why is because they found something that works for them, for their personality and for their skills, and then they've done that over and over and over and over again. They're not deviated by and tempted by trends and what everyone else is doing. They've found a format that works for them and they've stuck to it until they've reached their goals. You can do that too. It's just about approaching social media with a more personalized strategy that is ultimately suited to you. So let me know, which creator archetype do you believe that you are? And again, if you would like more information on this, definitely sign up for that masterclass. I will leave all of the information linked below. I deeply appreciate you. Let's have a little discussion about this. And if you did want me to create more on creator archetypes, then also let me know in the comments below.